painting done before the show is over. Stretching it out. This one's got some. It's got some creases in it, which we can use. Welcome to the veritable edge of Western civilization, Venice Beach, Californication. It is Tuesday, December 8th, maybe? 8th or 9th. And 2014, of course. And today is Tuesday, Mars Day. Mars Day, Day of Initiation. Hey, Sean. And yesterday was a friggin' technical disaster as far as the show goes. The stream cut out after only a few minutes after my introduction, and I'm not even sure you were able to actually hear it for some reason. I think it was because I moved the computer, so we're going to just leave the freaking computer right where it is. And you're going to have to trust me that it's a friggin' epic, beautiful day. Looks like July out here. I'm sweating, and I'm digging it. Okay? December. I mean, all the old hardcores are out. I actually went down to the hotel today, walked down to the hotel that collects my mail. The Venice Beach Hotel, plug. I used to live there. And they're kind enough to collect my mail there. It's my legal residence. You know, it's on my card and my, what do you call it? My what do you call it? Driver's license. Yeah. Where I get my mail. And so they're doing the renovations there. Andy Lehman, who owns the place, he's had this dream of he collects old photographs of LA and Venice Beach especially, and he found especially, you know, pictures of the hotel because it's 100 years old and has a pretty rich history. And, you know, features pretty prominently on the boardwalk photographs. And anyway, he found this one photograph that showed that there was once like a bungalow on the roof of the building. And it's been his vision to put a little cocktail bar up there. and it's taken him 7 years to go through all the planning and the architecture and the approval of this guy and whatnot, but he's been able to do it as a restoration. So it's kind of exciting. And the architectural design is really cool because, you know, these old buildings, they have these apartments, they have like shafts where each apartment opens up into the kitchen window opens up into, or bathroom window opens up into one of these shafts, and it's just for light to come in, you know. And so they were able to use those shafts, those shaftways, as metal I-beams down those shafts. There's 6 of them in the building, so that this new construction on the roof is just sitting on top of those, like a table on top of, with long legs that go into the earth. But it's not going to put any added weight on the building itself, you know. So they're building a platform on top of that on the roof, and building, you know, the little bungalow thingy, wine bar or whatever. Andy really likes wine. And it's really cool to see somebody have a vision and be able to fulfill it, you know. And so anyway, that's what's happening. But anyway, I went down there to pick up my a box of my books and DVDs, you know, that came in. Yay! So little plug time, plug. So these are two of my books, you know, Divine Metaphysics 101, 101, and 102, right? Words and pictures, original photography, original words on original photography. Get the general idea. So there's those two. And there's, you know, the autobiography, right? Autobiography. And then there's, oh yeah, there's the book of the movie, my last documentary I'm writing the sequel for right now. And then there's some of my old DVDs of my first documentary. Got some of those. I haven't had any of these in probably 6 months or so. So I was able to. It's they're all on Amazon, and I publish them through Amazon's publishing on demand site, CreateSpace. And so I was able to order, you know, some inventory. It's disturbing when business isn't good enough for me to like buy more of the books, and so the books sell out, and then I don't have any, and it's like I wrote these books. It took, you know, years of my life to put the books and the movies together and everything like that, and I can't even sell them because I can't afford to buy them from, you know, it's crazy. But the good thing is they're, you know, publishing on demand, so I only, you know, have to buy a couple. I don't have to buy any, but, you know, I can buy them by the piece, you know. And I designed them so that they were, you know, they were all under, you know, they only cost me to order them less than $10 a piece. So, but, you know, business has been pretty bad this year. So, but the fall picked up, which is really good. And, you know, relatively speaking, you know, picked up to me is different than what most people picked up to somebody else, you know. I need to get some. Okay, what are we doing with this? What's the vision? Oh yeah. So, what do we got? We got 74%, plenty of juice, and it's 320. I'm hoping that it's working, that you're hearing me. Let's get some done here. So, had a pretty amazing, incredible revelation this morning in my meditation, and So thanks for showing up and watching this, because obviously haven't said anything to anybody about this yet, but it helps me to kind of debrief myself after meditation, because you know, when you're in a meditation, you don't usually take things, you kind of take things for granted, things given, and then when you come out, you can recount what you experienced, what came to you. Then you realize the magnitude of it, you know. So, in a nutshell, for the past 8 months or so, 8 months since last February, I've been studying out-of-body experiences, astral projections, astral journeying, call it whatever you want to call it. I've been studying the structure of all the dimensions that are, you know, in direct relation to the Earth, and the structure of our universe at this point, you know, the structure of our reality, and but studying from in terms of like movies and books on the subject, from people that have explored it very extensively, and you know, looked at. There's a textbook that I recommend called Demystifying the Out-of-Body Experience, that was written by a person that has been going out of the body since they were a kid, and connected with this organization when he was going to college. His name is Luis Monero, and when he was going to school in South Florida, he connected with this organization that has been teaching people how to go out of their bodies for since the late 60s. It was this organization was called the International Consciousness Academy, and going on here. All right. And the person that started it was a Brazilian psychiatrist, and he wrote 2 books, but they're in Portuguese, and they're pretty voluminous. Because one of them is actually just straight accounts of people, debriefings of people that have, you know, gone out of their bodies and whatnot, you know. So in Luis Monero's book, and I think he has a YouTube channel as well. Really wonderful person. I met him at the book signing here in Venice. He's the director of the International Conscious Academy here in LA. You know, apparently, I've never been to the academy or anything, but he talks about it in there, because this is why he wrote the book, was to use it as a textbook in the academy in English, because what they had to work with was the work of the founder of the academy, but it was all in Portuguese. You know? So the 4th chapter of Luis's book is the how-to, and there's about 20 different methods that he details there about how to, you know, go out of your body and everything. And so I've been practicing some of those methods over the, you know, since I read the book, devoured that book last spring, and been practicing some techniques that help, you know, loosen you up into that. And as soon as, I mean, around that same time, there's this the work of what's his name, Robert Monroe, and who wrote the Journey series of books about his experiences in the, you know, the realms beyond the physical plane. He's, you know, one of the people that pioneered out-of-body experiences, the popularization of the whole concept of out-of-body experiences. Where are we going? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm going off an image. It's in my head here. Hopefully, it's sunny enough to dry this, so I can get to drawing the real thing, drawing the thing. So anyway, the 5th, 6th, and 7th chapter of Luis's book really lays out the structure of the realms beyond the physical, and in pretty great detail. And then somewhere along the way, either he quotes it or anyway, if you're familiar with Yogananda, of the Self-Realization, founder of the Self-Realization Fellowship, who brought Kriya Yoga to the West, he in his autobiography of a yogi, that you can also read for free on. It's available on the web. If you check out chapter 43, it's called the what do you call it? The resurrection of Sri Yukteswar. And Sri Yukteswar was his guru, right? And let's do that. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember now. I remember now. Hey there. So the 5th, 6th, and 7th chapters of his book, talking about the structures, the basic structure of the work, of the soul, you know, the realms beyond the physical plane, his descriptions are very similar, you know, pretty much corroborate the structure of the universe that's described by Sri Yukteswar in Yogananda's autobiography. And so, in a nutshell, beyond the earth plane, there's the astral planes, the astral realms. And beyond the astral realms, there's what Sri Yukteswar calls the causal plane. And it turns out that that's where he was coming from when he came back to Earth to have this interview with Yogananda. And as it happens, one of the structures of the universe that they talked about is that within, like this right here is my spacesuit, right? This is the physical body that I need to be on the physical plane, right? And within this body, there's a body for each of the planes beyond, right? So there's one for the astral planes, there's one for the causal planes, and there's one beyond. Now that one that's beyond, that transcends all these, the aspect of us that is from that place beyond the realms of density is essentially consciousness, right? So this morning, I've been trying all these techniques and everything to do this astral projection, right? I'm kind of laughing at myself, which is always a good thing. But for years, I've been doing this creative visualization, the Akashic record and a couple of other realms, and had some pretty incredible experiences, some of which I detail in those books I showed you earlier, right? And that's not too bad. Probably So I'm laughing at myself because for the past few months I've been, every day making an attempt to astral project, right? Actually usually twice a day, usually when I'm waking up in the morning, or even before I wake up in the morning, like, I wake up at like 6 in the morning or something like that, knowing that I'm going to keep sleeping, but I'll try at that time, and then I'll go back to sleep, right? And then I'll try before I go to sleep, as I'm lying in bed at night. And I've had some interesting experiences and stuff, but I haven't actually, had the, as it's described, experience of astral projecting. At the same time, for years, I've been practicing this other technique that has to do with using something that was described to me as a creative visualization. And as I said, I've had some pretty incredible experiences in that realm, right? In those realms. Everything from going beyond the stars with dolphins and whales and stuff, and getting a ride on Pegasus and stuff. So if you're deeply into a creative visualization, it'll take off on its own, and stuff will happen that you're not consciously like making happen. You always have complete control of what's happening, but if you wish. But if you kind of let it go, other new things will emerge. New directions will be taken if you leave that opportunity, if you leave that out there. If you communicate that to the universe with your intention. So, and I actually in this book here, The Care and Feeding of the Natural High, I detail, there's like 5 or 6 different meditations in here. And one of them is a visualization that I use to access the Akashic record. So I've been doing that since, 96, 97? 96, 97, winter of 96, 97. December of 96 was when I started. And so what is that? That's like 8 years or so I've been doing that. And what am I saying? It's not 8 years. That's 18 years. That's 18 years I've been doing it. I've been doing that for 18 years. Wow. Yeah, so anyway, and I've taught people how to do it and stuff. I've totally forgot about this. I even did it this summer. I taught people how to access the Akashic record. I did a big. There were probably 50 people there, and I guided them into the Akashic record using this creative visualization technique at the Rainbow Gathering this summer. That was so much fun. Anyway, so this morning I'm in the meditation. I'm in a meditation, in meditation mode, and I'm started to do all the stuff that I would normally do for, trying to astral project and everything like that. And something said, why don't you just use your imagination this time? Because basically you got nothing to lose, right? So just imagine, because I've had this imagination of what it would be like, to just rise up out of my body, right? So I just decided I was gonna follow through on what that would look like, So I imagined myself rising up out of my body. So I live out of my Volkswagen bus, and or a Volkswagen bus, and so I picture myself rising up through the roof of the bus, and seeing over the bus and on the street and around the corner, and rising up higher, and I can see the ocean and everything, and it's funny, as I'm describing it, I can see that. I'm recounting I'm right there, because what we have, if I can cut to the chase, I realized the first time that no, it was the second time that I accessed the Akashic record. I was brought to this place where there was an entity there that recounted for me I should say, I was presented with this recounting of the moment that I was invited to come into the universe, right? So there was an entity there and myself, and I don't look like this, and they don't look like, but we're basically two consciousnesses, and we're having an interaction, and there's a visual component to that communication, and that component is also, the visual component is also full of emotion and thought forms and all this sort of stuff, and there's a communication, and it feels very organic, it's very comfortable, feels very familiar, and at that time I was told or shown that I'd incarnated 1,878 times. But before that, I was told that I was shown that the moment that I was invited to come into the world, and what was communicated was that there had been this place that certain aspects of divinity. These are my words, so this all came without words. You got to understand. So this is my translation, right? That there had been a place created by certain aspects of divinity that was so captivating that those that created it had gotten caught up inside of their own creation, right? And I've talked about this before on the show many times, and I probably will many times again, because it was a pretty pivotal and important moment in my life, right? So what ended up happening is we might actually get to do something. Some secret geometry, Remy. Yes. So, I was, told or shown that there were other aspects of divinity that were invited to come into that space to remind those that had gotten caught up inside of who they really were, where they came from, and so forth, right? And they had gotten caught up inside of that creation as well, right? So I was, apparently one of the subsequent invitees to come in and do what I could do, right? And that's when I was told that I'd incarnated up to this point, and I was shown what my first incarnation was. And as soon as I was shown what that incarnation was, I knew what my what my strategy was in accomplishing what the mission was. Okay? So, years ago, several years ago, this I shared this story with somebody, and they asked me a very important question. They said, "So, where were you before this communication? Where did you come from before that?" Right? And honestly, before they asked me that question, I had never given it any thought. I just assumed that it was, I just took it, well, maybe that was the beginning of my consciousness, right? And so for years since then, since that question was asked, I have been pondering it. Like, okay, so where was I? Where did I come from before that, you know? So that question being asked was probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I learned that I accessed the Akashic Record for the first time in, thank you, for the first time in 1996. And, I had the spiritual acceleration where I was in a state of bliss 24 hours a day in 93, 94, okay? So, when I was having the spiritual acceleration in 93, those 3 months in the winter of 93, 94, there were 2 times when I actually witnessed what people call the celestial chorus, right? At that time, what I would do is I would go, I had a Volkswagen bus at the time, and there's something about the way Volkswagen buses are constructed, man, that they're really a good space, a good place to meditate in. To do the sort of meditation that I was doing, which is listening to the divine vibration, because it can be really quiet in there, and it's really easy to hear the divine vibration in the car, right? So I would lay down in the back and listen to the divine vibration and do a specific breath, a circular breath, and listen as deeply as I possibly could into the divine vibration, recognizing that it was infinite consciousness, that it was the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit of holiness, right? And just feel just this tremendous gratitude for being in communion with it, you know? It's like I couldn't get close enough to love her, like the universe was my lover, and I couldn't get close enough to it, you know? That was my attitude. That was my approach to the sound. And so ever since then, that was 20 years ago, and that's been, the constant in my life has been that relationship. And because I know, even when I can't, when things are really loud and I can't hear it, I know that it's there, and I'm constantly doing whatever I can to remember to listen, because I know there's certain things that I know about, and that is that, it's the divine vibration, right? It's ultimate infinite perfection, and there isn't anything that it isn't capable of, and because it's infinite consciousness, infinite love, right? It gives us free will. It provides us with free will, because it would rather be chosen than coerce our attention and communion with it, right? So when we practice divine communion, you know, we are not the only beneficiaries. You know, the universe wins. Everybody and their uncle benefits from the fact that when one person is giving the universe its undivided attention with glee, you know, without reservation, you know. And so that's been my spiritual practice for the past 20 years. So one of those times when I was, actually, I think it was both of them. It was both times that I heard the Celestial Chorus. What I saw was this place where every soul that exists, that ever has existed or ever will exist, is all in this one place. And this place is in the presence of the One. It's in the presence of the infinite, of infinite consciousness, infinite love, right? And everyone is in that place. Everyone is sitting there and drinking it in, just drinking it in, just in glee, in gratitude, in adoration, you know, and just soaking in the radiance of it all. Everyone that you will ever see or have ever seen, everyone that you ever know, all the people that suck, all the people that don't suck, all the people that are amazing, all the people that aren't so amazing, everyone. And there's an aspect of them at every moment that is in that place, right? So I've known this ever since, right? And it's really helped me when I'm, you know, faced with people that I don't like, you know, people that I interact with, and that, you know, they don't show up in a very yummy way. They show up in a very yucky way, you know? And because I know that that's not them, you know, that's not who they are, that may be how they're being, and it's ultimately the universe that's acting, you know, they're acting through them. And that, you know, sometimes this is a big lesson, right? Is sometimes the universe uses people to be yucky, that will motivate us like a pool cue hitting another ball to go in a different direction than to shift our trajectory, right? Than we would have, you know, we may have just trudged on along, you know, in a certain direction if that person hadn't conducted themselves in such a yucky manner in our presence and inspired us to just get the heck out of Dodge, you know. And there are times when we do the same thing for other people, you know. We you know, stand up and say, hey, this is unacceptable. I can't, you know, like yesterday something happened where there was a gentleman that was accosting a young woman right in front of my setup, and I had to step up and say, hey, you know, leave her alone, you know. And he got up in my face, and I just said, yeah, you know, I would have said the same thing if it was somebody doing it to you, bro, you know. And right then, out of the clear blue sky, there was a police officer in a car that rolled up right at that moment as he's like, rah, 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 up in my face, you know. And I just said to the cop, he was accosting this young woman that was walking by, and the cop said, hey, come here for a sec. And so they had some kind of conversation, and that guy, all I heard I went back about my business, you know, and after a while, I heard that guy that was getting all ugly and everything, I heard him go, yes, sir, and walk away. It was interesting. It was very interesting. And then about an hour later, he came walking by, and you could tell he was kind of doing a wide berth around me. He was walking by with somebody else, and I was with a customer, and I was aware of him, you know. And I was like, okay, where are we going with this? Where's this going? Because, you know, stuff like that out here, man, you don't want residuals. You know, you don't want the other shoe to fall, because it can get ugly and stupid real quick, you know. So you always need to stay in good relations with all the locals, all right? Because otherwise people can mess you up. And he walks by and he goes, I'm not going to say anything to you, and you don't say anything to me, and we'll just leave it like that, you know. And I was like, all right, let's see. I didn't say anything, but my look was that, you know. I was like acknowledging, you know. And he went on his way. I haven't seen him since. But the pool ball analogies, you know, sometimes people are yucky, and it propels us in a direction that we that the universe needs us to go, you know. And because otherwise we would have stayed in our comfort zone or whatever, you know. So anyway, back to the point. Oh man, this is so cool. So in my meditation this morning, I realized, you know, that I may not be, what I did this morning was not necessarily an astral projection, but the term causal projection came into mind. And then later, as I was thinking about it, as I was setting up today, I was like, it was a conscious projection. I was projecting my consciousness, you know. And one of the reasons why I've been wanting to learn this is because I had last winter, when I was first started studying this, I just had this really, one day I just had this, had this glimpse of how things are structured and everything like that, and I was like, I want to help, I want to teach people this stuff, you know. So that's one of the reasons I want to learn is astral projector, so I could, like, you know, help teach people. Because what I saw, the vision that I had was that when a critical mass of people are astral projecting, it's going to change the world for the better. Like, we will have the world that we've all sought. We will have heaven on earth, because there are certain things that stuck in this world will not be able to exist, because people will be too sensitive for those things to exist energetically. We'll just collectively make a different choice, you know, like allowing, you know, greed to be a major societal motivator. For example, there was some initiative last week that was announced in the media here about the need to increase the adjust the EPA standards for, you know, clean air, right? And because people were having, you know, there was too much there's too many respiratory illnesses that are preventable because the air isn't as clean as it needs to be. And so they were going to, you know, hope to ratchet up those EPA standards so that, you know, the air would be a lot cleaner by sometime in the 2020s, right? And immediately, companies and legislators on the payroll of those companies that usually are aligned with the Republican Party started to object, because they immediately assumed that doing that would cost more money than they were willing to spend. Oh, it'd be too expensive to do that, right? So the mentality is, we can't afford for our children to not be prone to asthma, so that somebody in an office somewhere can tell his corporate board that their profit margin was here instead of here, and the board would, you know, use its influence over their legislators that are in their pocket to make sure that that didn't happen. That's that right there, that little matrix right there. Obviously, we all can see that that's doesn't get much more screwed up, right? Yeah, that's been, you know, that's why we have such a high incidence of children with asthma now, right? You know, 50 years ago, when I was growing up, it was a rare thing, you know, and now there are places where little kids, it's, you know, like, what is it, something like 1 in 4 children have, you know, some respiratory problems. That ain't right. It ain't moving right along. That just ain't right, Jack. Okay. Hello, hello. This is an interesting day because so far, not one person has even stopped. I wonder if we'll go the whole day without that happening. It's weird. It's weird. And it's so epic. Crazy. Oh well. So, I realized that the revelation of the day for me was this. The revelation of the day for me was the whole idea that of conscious projection, and that I was actually I wasn't using my astral body to project. I was using my causal body to project, and thus my consciousness, because these bodies are just, you know, they're tools for the consciousness, right? And so I'm going to explore that some more, and I suggest you do too. Whatever. Okay. It's pretty exciting, huh? That's pretty exciting. I'm excited. Conscious projection. 402. $360. Got to do the math. What do we got? 11%. Okay. Yes. I'm feeling the need to draw a circle. You have to draw a circle. Got beautiful women.
Right?
Yep. Okay. Well, 5%. It's good enough time as any. Because this is gonna get crazy. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Good to see where that's going. All right. So okay. Remember, we love you.